And now for a feature presentation. Greetings, here at Cocoscope. It is I, Mental Misfire Media, here to celebrate with y'all 200 views on this wonderful website. Thank you all so much for your continued support. To celebrate this, we're going to tell another random story time, much like our previous celebration at BitTube, which you may or may not have seen. So, in the BitTube video, I would tell a story and then incorporate random words every 5 minutes. But I'm not just going to do the same thing here, that'd be boring. What we're going to do instead, I have randomly generated 10 pictures. And, well, at first what I thought I wanted to do was to just tell the story of those pictures as they come. But it turns out I'm not all that good at coming up with stories on the fly. There are two types of creators, the architect and what's called by the seat of your pants. So basically, the architect would plan things out. Oh, this character will do this, the plot hooks will be like this is the antagonist, this thing will happen, blah, 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 blah. For the pantsies, would be like, ideas would just come flying through their heads and would write the story as they go along. I'm more the architect type. So, to properly do this, I have decided to point down footnotes, not the whole story, because that would defeat the purpose of spontaneity. And with these 10 images that have been randomly generated, I put down footnotes and I'm going to tell a story with them. So, before we start, I'm going to give you all some time to prepare, because the story time is approximately 30 minutes. You know, go get refreshments, snacks, candy, whatever. And here we go.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Good, you're all back. Let's get ready for story time. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Commence atmospheric entry. Wyatt shifted uneasily in his seat. He stared out the window. Below, an alien world. A marble of beautiful white, silver, and occasional flash of cerulean. He couldn't see the surface. It doesn't matter. He's going to need to land anyway. He initiates a procedure. The Magellan 4, sleek in chrome, burns through the atmosphere. The white clouds replace the scorching flame. Wyatt noses in. His shuttle vibrates viciously, threatening to disintegrate. He strains as he holds on tight to the joystick, almost as if to hold the ship together and still in one piece. Then, the surface emerges. A rainbow of landscapes, flora and fauna, unseen anywhere on Earth. Perhaps even in the Milky Way. But the beauty below belies the genuine danger Wyatt is in. He fights the majestic Magellan every step of the way, trying to ease it down to the ground, but to no avail. The impact was a hard one. Wyatt grasps hold of his chest. When the shuttle comes to a stop, he presses the necklace against his skin and says a prayer of thanks. He has now landed. Safely. More or less. Wyatt checks his spacesuit integrity. It is good. He opens the shuttle bay door. It fell apart. Well, guess he'll have to fix that later. He takes a step outside. The automatic reading in his suit informs him. Excess oxygen concentration. Unidentified toxins present. atmosphere not suitable for human life. Yes, that helmet's staying on. He walks outside through the now broken shadow door. He takes a look at his ship. The Magellan 4. Still sleek. A lot less chrome. Still large. But a lot worse for the wear. The NASA symbol is still intact. As so is the conglomerate symbol right next to it. Next to the letters NASA is a circle dotted by stars with an ascending arrow in the center, and above that arrow tip, 3 stars, representing the first companies that made private spaceflight possible. The predecessor of the conglomerate, SpaceX, Virgin, and Blue Origin. Once pioneers, through the centuries, have now been replaced by companies named such as Beyond Horizons, Zhang Aerospace, Amazon, Ratten, etc. Of course, Wyatt's not the only astronaut out there searching for new planets to colonize and build space stations on. Brazil's Exploratory Committee, Europe's ESA, Russia's Roscosmos, China's CNSA, India ISRO, Japanese JAXA, United Korea's Yukari, the AEL, the Agencia Espacial Latina, of course the Israelis. Each of them have their own astronauts, probing the outer reaches of the Milky Way and beyond. And now Uncle Sam has endeavored to claim this planet. Hopefully. The damage was extensive, but nothing irreparable. It will take weeks, however. With the safe landing, safe-ish, Wyatt reports back to Houston. He activates his spacesuit console. Static. Houston. Static. Can anyone hear me? Only static. That's strange. The slipspace antenna looks fine. Oh well. Wyatt sighed. He looked around the rainbow paradise before him. Multicolored fauna and flora of all sorts. Soil that resembles kids' modeling clay, not material that actually plants and fungi grow out of. Purple trees with yellow leaves tower above him. Vines of neon orange hung low. A multitude of plants and animals of every hue, of every size, crawl, walk, and fly. But Wyatt's not here to just sightsee. His ship is named number 4 for a reason. Satisfied that the ship is in much better condition than the landing suit would suggest, Wyatt embarks on his mission. The gravity of this planet is higher than the moon, but much lower than Earth. Traversing this low gravity was quite the challenge. It was the equivalent of bounding up and down stairs while skipping every 2 or 3 steps. Wyatt had to be careful not to trip and fall. Along the way, he passed a mass of Venus flytraps, looking not unlike the ones back on Earth, except larger and more mobile. Instead of waiting for the prey to land in its mouth, it would reach out and snatch them. And the prey? Tiny little birds, almost the size of insects. Come to think of it, Wyatt looked around. Slugs, giant insects, fungi, plants, but no vertebrates. Off in the distance, what looks like a giant spider, and then a painful chirp. Another bird has fallen prey to the Venus. Wyatt clutches his chest again. It's not a good feeling to be the only vertebrate surrounded by invertebrate. Several of them twice your size. Wyatt slowly moved out of the way, careful not to disturb the dog-sized blue-tailless scorpions running beneath him. Another painful chirp. Wyatt must move quickly before he and his fellow vertebrates end up just like that bird. Somewhere in this beautiful morass is Magellan 3. But before he could find Magellan 3, there was the unrecognizable remains of Magellan 2. In 2122, after experimenting with various methods of faster-than-light communication, Igor Rostovich invented the first hyperlight communication device. Being a sentimental also, Rostovich designed it to look much like his old mailbox in Vladivostok. This remarkable device, not only was it able to receive text and voice communication, but one could deposit written text into it in the form of a letter or note, and would transmit just the same as any other communication method. Messages across the solar system no longer take minutes or even hours. Now they're instantaneous, as fast as texting from one end of the globe to another. But that was before 2133. In 2133, instantaneous communication across the Milky Way became possible. And 5 years later, the entire universe can send and receive messages instantly. Other companies tried to use designs other than the mailboxes of Rostovich, but they were never all that popular. There is a sense of nostalgia about dropping a handwritten envelope into a Dropbox on Earth and have it be read by a pilot cruising around Alpha Centauri. When Wyatt makes contact with Magellan 3, the two teams will pull their resources and supplies together, make contact back to Earth, solve the static issue, and establish one of those little mailboxes so that Houston can begin colonization procedures. So that Houston will have to add another name, 11 names, to the Magellan mailboxes. Not too far from the Houston Space Center are mailboxes, 50 of them, 30 for Magellan 1, which was destroyed by an asteroid, and 20 for Magellan 2, crashing on this very same planet with all 20 souls on board. The mailboxes aren't functional, but that's not the point. The point is for school children and tourists and co-workers and teachers to write messages, farewells, love letters, birthday cards, and to deposit them. Because surely somewhere those 50 people are reading these messages from these mailboxes. Just not here. Not in the solar system, not in the Milky Way, and not outside of it. And why is to make sure that 11 more names aren't going up on those mailboxes. Lost in thought about mailboxes, Wyatt almost ran into it. It was about the size of 2 bisons, but even furrier and spikier. Much, much spikier. Well, Wyatt thought to himself, at least it's a vertebrate. Hopefully it's a herbivore. And then it bared its long fangs, and then it started to move towards Wyatt. His entire life, Wyatt was trained for this. From his father, to the Air Force, to the colonization course. He readied his hostile engagement system, but did not take aim. All of his training is telling him to fire, but something else said to stop. He just held tight onto his ACS, but did not raise it. He held his chest tight. The bison ankylosaur approached him, stared at him, sniffed him, opened his mouth to yawn, and then walked away. Wyatt moved forward. After about 20 more minutes of travel from the forest, he approached a cave filled with glowing blue lichen, not unlike the ones he's seen on Earth. He felt slight relief at that tiny pinch of familiarity. Then, stone structures everywhere. But they're not stalactites and stalagmites. They look different. When I approached one of them, it looked like those tiny dog scorpions he saw earlier. And then another one. Those stingray things he saw flying in the sky. And then another. It was Gina. Lieutenant Gina Rowland, USAF. In the shadows he saw other figures, but dared not look at it. He readied his ACS again, still aiming at nothing particular. There's nothing to aim at. Yet. The ceiling moved. And then it landed in front of Wyatt. It was a giant moth butterfly thing made of stone. It stared at Wyatt. Wyatt stared back. Just as Wyatt was thinking it'd be nice to just fly away like the ankylosaur bison, it vomited all over him. Even if he had tried to follow his training, which, again, he didn't, he would have still been unable to use the HES. The slimy gray fluid that covered him began to harden. Wyatt's heart sank, but he was at peace. He held tight to his chest. If it is to end here, so be it. His last concern was about Magellan 5. Wyatt woke up. He was in a different part now, filled with giant ferns, tall leafy shrubs. Wyatt looked around his surroundings. He appears to be encased in glass. But wait. He looked up. A giant cliff outcropping was pouring water directly onto him. Except it stopped and formed this water ball around him and his surroundings. He walks towards the walls and examines it. It's water, alright. But everything inside the ball is dry. Where he was sleeping earlier was a giant magenta leaf of what looks like, coconuts. Actual coconuts, not a facsimile, not a fruit that looks like it. Coconuts, like the ones on Earth. He was feeling kind of hungry, and they were, courteously enough, split open for him. After the spacer verified that it is indeed a coconut and it is indeed safe to eat, he took the meat and juice and fitted through his mouthpiece so as not to expose himself to the toxic atmosphere. Just as he was finishing his meal, a lady appeared. Could it be Laura? No, she's not wearing a spacesuit. And she doesn't look like where Wyatt's from. Look like anyone from where Wyatt's from. The lady approaches Wyatt, parting the waters like the curtain as she approaches him. She stood in front of him. Time stands still. 5 minutes has already passed, but his suit didn't register any of that. Then the lady spoke. Who are you? Wyatt can scarcely find the words, but he blurted them out anyway. I'm a man from Earth, sent to find colonies outside the Milky Way. Wyatt couldn't tell what the expression on her face was. Boredom? Disdain? Familiarity? Then Wyatt inquired, Who are you? The suit chronometer began working again, except backwards, then forwards. Then everything went back to normal. At her feet, a seed appeared, bloomed into a beautiful flower, wilted and died, decomposed, only to become a seed again, and the cycle repeats. As all this was going on, Wyatt struggled to concentrate on the words coming out of her lips. Are those even lips? I was born with the planet, and all things on this planet are influenced by and belong to me. As long as you are here, the time and space around you also belong to me. Then an image shimmered in the water. The flytraps, the rays, the bison, along with other life that Wyatt has yet to witness, they all flashed in front of his eyes. Their life and their death also belong to me. And now, so does yours. With an accusatory tone, she interrogated. What do you wish to do with my planet? Wyatt answered. Populate with humans. Do research and mine for minerals. The lady was unmoved. That's what the others said. Wyatt was suddenly more alert. Are you talking about Magellan 3? She continued. They claim the same things you did, but only seek to bring strife, conflict, and exploitation. At the end of that line, the timbre of her voice dropped so low that shook Wyatt physically. But he persisted. What happened to them? They were found unworthy and disposed. Her expression changed slightly. You are angry. Any fear and hesitation is gone from Wyatt's voice now. They're my friends. My co-workers. They have family back home. You can't kill them like this. You just can't kill people. For the first time, Wyatt saw what looked like slight confusion on her face. Then she swiftly brushed it aside. There have been many others like you. While you still clamber on treetops back on your planet, I have killed multitudes for seeking to exploit or harm us. And now she's killing humans. And perhaps Magellan 3 is not even the first. There were others like me. They came before the one that you said you killed. Or perhaps you killed all of them. It took every ounce of restraint for Wyatt not to activate his HES. Whether it was caution or something else, he's unable to determine. She replied matter-of-factly, It is not my fault that your inferiority ended up costing your own lives. But of the masses you sent, I have only disposed of 4. Bloodlust, pride, betrayal, and greed. They were unworthy. The others disposed themselves through incompetence, recklessness, and aggression. The words that came out of her were cold. Cold as ice. No, colder than ice. Colder than death. And then she passed judgment. Now it is time for your test. You won't be needing that. From the beige ground, a root sprang up, grew to size, and suddenly snatched the HES. It would take a plasma saber 20 minutes to cut through the HES. The branch broke it effortlessly. Then the executioner said to the condemned, I will probe you while my pet restrains you. A balloon animal floated through the open water curtain behind Wyatt, grabbed him, and proceeded to lift him up. His arms restrained, he was unable to touch his chest where the necklace lay. It wasn't long before he was up in the sky. The sky, once brilliant white and silver, now crimson and orange, with the occasional streak of teal. A voice echoed in his head. If you fail, your disposal will be painless. It is the least I can do. Before Wyatt could react, every thought, memory, life experience that he ever had in his life was displayed before him in front of his eyes. His baptism. Wait, how does one even remember that? It doesn't matter. It was there regardless. In kindergarten, wanting to be an astronaut. His confirmation at St. Agnes. His volunteer work with the Salvation Army. Graduating the Air Force Academy. Mom and Dad, Jaina and John, them getting married, chasing the little terrors around the park. And then, a face. No, not that! At that, her voice became deaf. Why do you resist? The tentacles that restrained him let go. Wyatt plummeted. Before he could even register the mountains rushing towards him, a kaleidoscope of eyes appeared. Her eyes. Her probing, questioning, merciless eyes. All his happiness, all his sadness, the parties, the birthdays, the funerals, the events that were once displayed coherently, all blended before him. Then scenes he doesn't recognize. From his movies, from his imagination, from his... Wait, was that his friend's memory? No longer it matters. They all blended into an incomprehensible attack on his very psyche, on his very soul. A primal scream of humanity, of our inferiority, of why we don't belong here, of why it's about to be disposed. The executioner asked again, Tell me why you are really here. I already did! You are hiding something. Wyatt knew exactly what she's after. and knew exactly how to respond. "You can't have it!" He snarled through gritted teeth as he continued to fall, not knowing if or whether he will ever hit the ground. As history, fantasy, and nightmares from other people continued to assault him, to probe him. For a moment, even the tone shocked Wyatt. "You're hiding your inferiority again, aren't you? Just like the others. You are not worthy." Wyatt made his peace. Ever since he came to this planet, he has been praying constantly. And if this ends up his final prayer, so be it. And if this is what he died for, defending this, well, it would have all been worth it. Prayers done, he issued his ultimatum. "Kill me if you must. You can't have it." But it was too much for Wyatt. The images all congeal. It was a female's face. Wyatt screamed into the void. From blackness, Wyatt found himself on a giant lily pad. The crimson sky was gone. It was white again. A new day. Wyatt was starving again. Next to him on the lily pad, more coconuts. And his favorite fruit, melon. He probed the food. He probed it again. And again. Satisfied, yet still leery, Wyatt consumed the meal in front of him. The lady reappeared. She's seated now, on a bed of glowing mushrooms and lichen, beautiful rainbow hues surrounding her. It was as if she was seated there the whole time, just waiting for Wyatt. She rose and approached him. Wyatt was furious, but he did not know what to do. No HES, no way out. Planet controlled by this demon, this monster. Is that why he's here? To deal with this thing? Perhaps, but for now he must bide his time, wait for an opening, an escape, an attack, anything. The alien and the astronaut just observed each other. Hours must have passed, but who can tell really with this ability of hers? At this impasse, the alien just observed, and Wyatt just ate. Then she spoke. I see now what you have hidden." Wyatt was angry again. How dare she kill all those people? How dare she try to probe my mind? How dare she handed me something? Wyatt was still too angry to accept this gift, insult, bribe, whatever this is, until he bent down and looked at it. Before Magellan, before NASA, even before John's marriage, and before any of the terrors were born, Joseph Wyatt just enlisted. Before he could head off to Air Force basic military training, he needed to say goodbye. Not to his friends and family, of course, he already did that. But to someone else, who's also saying goodbye. She was still beautiful, with her reddish auburn hair and the pink framed glasses. How different it would look under its more traditional black rim and under the cover of a habit. Maybe Joseph Wyatt didn't have to become Commander Joseph Wyatt, U.S. Air Force. Maybe she could be Mrs. Wyatt. But that's not correct. Of course, he had to be Joseph Wyatt, Commander. Of course, she had to be Sister Margaret Rosemary. They both had their duty and they must do it, even if that duty breaks their heart. They clasped hands one final time. She smiled. "This is what he told you to do, right?" she asked, already knowing the answer. Wyatt replied, knowing that she already understood. Yeah, it's the same as you becoming a novice. She brushed her eyes lightly, then pulled out a small pink box. She clasped it into Wyatt's hands, and she said these words that will forever be imprinted onto his mind. Whatever happens, you'll always have him. She opened the box and handed over a gorgeous wooden carved rosary. And me, she finished. Attached to that rosary was a pendant. The label read Rosa, and the pendant itself. Back on the lily pad, Wyatt was speechless. The alien, the demon, the lady, handed over a beautiful pearl white rose. He clutched his chest, the crucifix pressed close to his breastbone, and the rose pendant with Rosa on it touched his heart. Then Wyatt was shocked by what happened next. The lady was smiling. Love, kindness, faith, devotion, service. Yes, I see it all. Did she just giggle? And her. Wyatt was crimson, heat rushing all over his body. Great. What happened to her and him was supposed to only belong to God. And now this, lady. The lady then gently but slowly reached for Wyatt's visor and touched it. It popped open. Before Wyatt could gasp, the readout commenced. Adjusting. Earth-like atmosphere. No contaminants detected. Suitable for human habitation. Please feel free to remove your helmet. She was already gone, and replaced by her absence was the communicator springing back to life. Magellan 4, for the love of... Wyatt, are you there? This is Houston. We lost contact for 2 days. Are you still there? Before he could answer, a final message from the steward of the planet. You may begin. I hope you enjoyed that little story. What you should be seeing right now is a shot from the website I used to generate those images, and you can see a couple of the images that I use in the story. It's a neat little website, so you can use it to generate all sorts of pictures, from the mundane like cigarette butts to something quite out there like the lady deity that I showed you in the story. And now we're coming to the end of this video. I'd just like to thank you all again for your support, and for coming listening to me on the story time, and for celebrating this milestone with me. If you have any comments, criticisms, suggestions, questions, anything at all, please feel free to leave it in the comments below or on any of my videos. I am always going back to reading them. I guess we can go over some of my future plans for the channels. I already talked a bit about it in my Bit2 video, but I'm going to reiterate. I'm trying to put in some more videos, animations, and things like that. As you've seen with the countdown timer and the let's all go to the lobby song, which is actually something I promised in my Bit2 video. So, it's delivered. What I'm hoping to get up pretty soon is a Kiddo's Bedtime Corner written by yours truly, a complete original story, not adapted from any fairy tale story or book. And it's not a review. Analysis of a very old movie, and very soon, a milestone. Yes, I reached another milestone. Thank you, everyone, for your support. So, in closing, stay safe. God bless you all very much. Until next time, I am Mental Misfire Media.